Tell us a little bit about maybe some of the changes that have taken place here at Williams in the last several years and changes you have underway that is fostering a more automated, data-driven environment.
So if you would have walked in my company 30 years ago in a gathering and processing plant and take a look at the amount of folks who are walking around and doing the measurement and managing the compressor and taking the measurement and turning that into volume, because that's what for us the gas is, and then turning volume into dollars based on the price and whatnot, and then billing and scheduling and whatnot, you will see an army. If you walk in one of our plants, let's say in Southwest Wyoming, and take a look, that plant has only 49 people generating $400 million worth of revenue. There is nobody in the plant you will find. Everybody sits in a control room watching all the compressors, on their screens. All the electronic meters are tied to the system, streaming data, literally streaming data on real-time basis. So the people are sitting in control room in hopefully nice air-conditioned room, whereas you walk in the plant, it's hot, it's very noisy, you need hard hat, you need to cover your ears. And this is all simply based on automation. The amount of automation in our operation is just amazing in the last 20, 30 years. And IT has been a big part of this. Without that, that includes from network. As I said, these basins are in the middle of nowhere, so I have to somehow get the streaming data from somehow to a microwave tower all the way so that I can take it to some kind of MPLS circuit and put it into an IP environment, to servers, to application, and of course at the end of the day to the users who are using and monitoring it. Okay,
so we've gone from this very labor-intensive environment to an IT data gathering environment, but of course where the rubber meets the road is on the analysis of all of that data. And that's where I would think IT can play a more strategic role. Is it fair to say that with higher levels of automation, the relationship between IT and the business unit itself has changed to some extent?
A few years ago, we had like 7 pipeline as an operating area, or BUs, and we went from 7 to 2. We should have gone from 7 to 1, but we went from 7 to 2. And the amount of standardization in data and process, which actually resulted in a huge productivity gain for Williams. And that was, again, supported along with our operations folks in IT, so we can get to that stage. In the measurement, I think we have made a great progress, but there are areas where we have to make a lot of progress. And I'll give you an example where I would say to some extent struggling, what we call GIS. GIS is basically, think about a system where in one place you want to find out exactly what's on that land. Where is the wetland? Where is the dry land? Who it belongs to? Is there a is it a farm? Is there a power line going? Is there another pipe going? Because if you have to lay a pipeline, you have to know all those details. And there is no road out there. So you have to get satellite pictures. You have to get enterprise Google map. You have to get a few more information and then layer those things. A very labor intensive process. You have to also understand how you're going to use it. IT traditionally has been out of this whole thing, and I'm trying to push the envelopes. Like, IT was never expected to come and help. We need to get in the room and start putting this together, because if we don't do it, we will never automate it.
So then is it fair to say that with this increasing level of automation, and you say a lot of repeatable operations and so forth, that that IT is moving toward a more, here at Williams, toward a more strategic role, perhaps focusing less on operational issues?
Absolutely. We have to take care of operations. We have to manage the network. We have to manage servers. We have to all DBAs. We have to have application administration. But that's like no big deal. Everybody does it.
Keep the trains running on time. Right?
Exactly. What's new? What are you? You're not really adding any value. In my, you are keeping the lights on. Very important. Don't get me wrong, because if that's not, you can't do anything on top of it. But once that is done, we need to get in the game of adding value to the shareholder. How do you do that? Adding value directly, if not indirectly, to customers. How do you do that? Well, first you got to learn the process and figure out what can we digitize and automate. How can we take all those manual labor and help? Because engineers, they know their data, but the folks who come from IT, they come from a very mature process and knowledge of layering data and creating data architecture and creating system architecture, and they can help those engineers accomplish the same thing faster. So I find the role of IT in productivity as very, very important, and that's one of the key things. Myself being a Six Sigma Master Black Belt, and you know, preach everybody continuous improvement. You know, I try to find where are the things I can simplify the process, reduce the number of steps, and automate it, and digitize it, and take that human labor and use the human labor for value add activity, which computers can't do. So that's the automation we are trying to do here.
Right, that's kind of the holy grail for most IT departments these days too, I think, is to get them functioning and working more on strategic issues and on the goals of the business.
Correct.
Well, Dru Rai from Williams Company, CIO, thank you very much for joining me today. A great story about automation here at Williams.
Thank you.
And I'm Bill Laberis from the Enterprise CIO Forum, and thank you folks for joining us today here as well.